I know we have a couple of bills on the calendar. I know one of the presenters has another meeting going on right now, so we'll take that up fairly quickly and go ahead and get him out of the way. But before we get started, I'm going to ask Senator Goodman if he would open us in a word of prayer. Senator Goodman.
Absolutely. Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for today, Lord. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for the gift of salvation. We thank you for allowing us to do good work on behalf of the people of Georgia, Lord. And as we go into these proceedings, Lord, we just ask for wisdom and discernment so that we can make the best decisions for the people of the state of Georgia, Lord. Thank you for all your many blessings. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So you'll find in your folder, we'll go ahead and hop over to the agenda. So Senate Resolution 345, there was a mistake. Senate Bill 345 was put in your folder by mistake, so that you should have Senate Resolution being passed around. Senate Resolution 345. I think it's actually not much of a coincidence since Senate Bill 345 was authored by Senator Mullis and Senate Resolution 345 is offered by Senator Hatchett, and they just happen to be roommates. So I don't know if that was I just think it just happened to be a coincidence. So, but anyway, so Senate Resolution 345 is by Senator Hatchett. Senator Hatchett, I will turn the mic over to you and let you present Senate Resolution 345.
Thank you very much, members of the committee. Today, I'm here to bring Senate Resolution 345, which is a resolution supporting the renaming of the Short Line Trail, which is a walking trail in Raven County, Georgia, to rename it to the Bill and Dusty McKay Trail. Bill and Dusty McKay are, I would venture to guess, around 90 years old. They've been volunteering as maintaining the trail, picking up trash, pressure washing the trail, being the local historians and tour guides for people that come, and they're kind of legends in that area. And anyone that's ever been on the trail, they know Bill and Dusty. They're great people, and we're extremely honored that this would even be considered. And so because of their hard work and dedication to the people in Northeast Georgia and natural resources in Northeast Georgia, and this trail in particular, we wanted to make sure that they're memorialized. And I think this is a very appropriate thing to do, to rename it instead of the Short Line Trail, the Bill and Dusty McKay Trail.
Thank you, Senator Hatchett. Are there any questions from any members of the committee? Senator again.
Appropriate time. I'm ready for a motion if you are.
This is the appropriate time. If there's no further questions, I see none.
I move do pass on Senate Resolution 345.
Got a do pass on Senate Resolution 345. That is LC 1220343. Is there a second? Multiple seconds. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. With that, all those in favor of Senate Resolution 345, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck with the Rules Committee.
Thank you. might have an in there. We'll see.
I think you might have an in there. Thank you, Bo. Before we move on any further, I think there may be some others slipping in and out, but as many of you know, today is 4-H Day at the Capitol, and we have Ware County 4-H. Y'all can stand up with us this morning. So glad to have y'all with us. Glad to have you down at the Capitol. So welcome to the Gold Dome. We hope you have a wonderful day with all of our 4-Hers from all across the state. I was a 4-Her myself. And I'm sure a lot of y'all were 4-Hers that are sitting up here. So 4-H and the Ag Ed programs, FFA, and all the other programs that we have mean a lot to all our students across the state. So we wish you well. And who knows, one of y'all may be sitting up here one day. You never know. But good luck to you, and we look forward to joining you for lunch in a little while. So y'all don't forget about that. We got the 4-H lunch today down at the depot. So, but glad to have them with us. We're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to take chairman's prerogative and go ahead and take up the bill that I have, Senate Bill 469. There is a substitute in your folder for this bill. It is LC 510106S. So I'll kind of talk to the underlying bill real quick, just so you know. And we'll hop on that right quick. So basically what Senate Bill 469 does is a couple of things. One, it primarily just conforms state law to federal law. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. So the U.S. Coast Guard has made some changes in how it addresses things like visual distress signals and things like that, and make it and requiring them in the coastal waters. So under federal law, it is already required. This just conforms our state law to that federal law. The primary reason for this is Georgia would lose up to 25%, if not more, of its federal funding that it gets in regards to this type of program. That funding helps fund those federal fundings actually fund 21 full-time positions under the Department of Natural Resources. So if we don't update our state law, we're at risk of losing those dollars, those federal dollars. So it's just simply conforming our state law to the federal law when it comes to those visual distress signals for nighttime and daytime use. The other thing that it does is it basically conforms our state law to federal law when it comes to PFDs or personal flotation devices. Just kind of cleans up our code and how that conforms to what the federal law is in that regard and the federal regulation is. With that, I'd be happy to, I know we got our friends from DNR with us today, Colonel Bernard. I think this is his first time in our meeting as the new Lieutenant Colonel, England. So he's been around. He's not a stranger, but congratulations on your promotion. We also have Major Adams and Major Holly with us. I'll just turn it over, Colonel, to y'all. I think Major Holly, if you want to make a few comments about this underlying bill, we'd be happy to hear from you on the department's position. So.
Well, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, the bill pretty much just conforms our state law and brings it up to speed with the current federal law. There, as far as the visual distress signals, it doesn't require any Georgia boaters to do anything additional. It just brings the code section up to the same standard that the Coast Guard. They're already required to have those visual distress signals in their vessels when operating on coastal waters. There would be no different impact on the boaters of the state. It's just simply bringing the code sections to parallel each other. As far as the PFDs, the PFD law just changes the designation of the flotation devices. Currently, it's type 1 through 5. The new system will just rate them based on their capabilities or their performance capabilities. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you'll have 50, 70, 100, and 150, and they'll either be wearable or throwable. And again, it doesn't put an additional requirement on the boaters. It's just calling the PFD something different on the labels.
And I guess I should probably clarify, this is only for the coastal waters when it comes to the visual distress signal. So, and coastal waters by definition are basically, it's the ocean. That's as defined by federal law. So that's where this would only apply in that regard. The PFDs would apply on all state waters, but the visual distress signals would only apply in the coastal waters. Basically, like I said, it only applies in the ocean. So, sir, again.
Thank you, Chairman. I understand what a pyrotechnic device is, but I'm kind of getting my head around a non-pyrotechnic device that would be signaled. Can you give me a description of what that really is?
Yes, sir. During the daytime, a non-pyrotechnic would be a simple orange flag. It's a red or orange flag. It's 36 by 36 inches is the minimum size, and it's got a square and a black circle on it as a symbol of distress. And they would just have to raise that or wave that to show that that vessel's in distress. At nighttime, it's a simple flash and strobe light. It can be seen over a horizon.
Thank you.
Senator Harbin.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Curious and I don't know if it's in this note, but you mentioned 25% of federal funds would be withheld from us if we do not comply with the federal. So what this is really, if we won't the money we sent there back, we have to comply with this. And I was curious about what is 25%? What does that represent in real dollars from that standpoint?
At current time, it represents $800,000.
$800,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we get about 3.2 million a year in funds from the federal government. And like you said, about 25% of those or more. I mean, it's at the discretion of the federal government. I mean, they could probably withhold all 3.2 million if they wanted to. But as I understand it this time, it would be at least 25% if we don't conform to federal law in this regard. But the thing is under current regulation, if you're on the ocean, you have to be abiding by this law anyway, because the U.S. Coast Guard patrols those waters already. If the U.S. Coast Guard pulls you over, you have to be in conformance to that federal law anyway. This just conforms state law to federal law because we have partnerships with the U.S. Coast Guard off the coast where state law enforcement, we're able to go out past our state water mark line because of that partnership. And we're able to go out and enforce those laws. So this helps conform our code section to allow our officers to have that continued jurisdictional capability. That way we're applying state law and federal law equally.
Additional question would be, can our state officers enforce federal law in our waters as far as that? And then also by adopting this, what's the additional cost, or is there an additional cost to the state of Georgia?
Major Holly.
There is no additional cost to the state that I'm aware of. Our officers do enforce certain federal laws out there. A lot of the boating laws that we have parallel the Coast Guard regulations. So that's what we're trying to do here, is just bring that one section into conformance with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I got Senator again.
I'm just ready for a motion when
Okay.
you are, sir.
All right. Well, hold on just a second. Senator Tippins.
I may have missed this, just point of clarification. How far inland does the term coastal waters go? I mean, would that be in the rivers anywhere you'd
It
have
would run-
brackish water or anything like that?
Yes, sir. It would run in until the opening leading inland closes past 2 miles wide.
Thank you. All right. Any further questions? Thank you, Major Holly.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, sir.
No, I think that was his first time presenting to our committee. We didn't give you too hard of a time.
Nope.
You know, normally when
And
people
I
do,
appreciate
normally
it
when
greatly.
folks do it for their first time, it's kind of a trial by fire, you know? Maybe I should have told the committee it was your first time. Well, we'll just have to wait for your second time.
That might be why all three of them are here.
Hey, well, good to have you with us. So, Senator again.
I move do pass on substitute Senate Bill 469 LC 510106S.
Have a motion to pass on the substitute to Senate Bill 469. Is there a second? Senator Jackson, multiple seconds again. So thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? No. With that, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And I guess I'll have good luck in rules. All right, well, thank you much. Before we move on, I saw some other 4-Hers slip in. I know we got Irwin County, maybe Irwin and Ben Hill, maybe. Y'all can stand up. So we got Irwin County and Ben Hill County 4-H with us today too. So more 4-Hers, glad to have y'all with us. Like we said, it's 4-H day. I did wear my green tie, by the way. It's not quite 4-H green, but it's close. It's got watermelons on it. And I see Senator Jackson wore her green shirt jacket, so that's very appropriate. And we got guys on the front row in green pants. So they're always celebrating 4-H every day in uniform. So Major Holly, you want to show them off to the crowd? Since it's his first time. Yeah, there you go. See, I told you, see, you hadn't quite got off the hook yet. That's right. Well, we're glad to have y'all with us. I don't even know that Irwin County is my home county. So obviously it's great to have my home county folks up here, but it's always good to have the folks that from my 10 county area up here. So glad to have you with us as we move through the legislative process. So at this time, we are going to move on to Senator Ginn's bill. Senate Bill 440, and we're going to turn this into a hearing only today, but definitely want to have a conversation about it and what is in the thought process of what we're trying to do with this. So, Senator Ginn, with that, I will turn the mic over to you and let you explain Senate Bill 440. Say again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do only want to have a hearing only on the bill. That was my request. And the reason being is that there's a really good bill, Senate Bill 94, that hopefully our chairman will move forward on our next committee meeting. And it's a much better dam bill, as they like to say in the dam world. So but the gist of what we're doing with this bill, it would be, if you think about, we have a tremendous amount of category 1 and category 2 dams. By definition, a dam is anything that's 25 feet or higher that's impounding water, or and the quantity of water. So when we start looking, you can have a category 1, which is one that has a potential of loss of life downstream, or you have a category 2. The only thing that separates the difference between those two is a potential victim downstream, an inhabitable structure in the breach zone downstream. So for me, when we start looking, the quantity of water, said and they put it in acre feet. Said so if you had an acre and it was a foot deep, that's 1 acre foot. Said right now in our definition under a dam, it's anything that has 100 acre feet or more. Said the bill that I have proposed is to go to 150 acre feet. And so when you start looking at, for me, and I do not want to pass this bill today, definitely, but it is one of those things. I want you to understand what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to save people's lives. Said, and I'm also trying to save the reservoirs that these dams create. And when we start looking, reservoirs provide a lot of the improvements to water quality. They act as sediment traps for any runoff that's coming downstream. Said they improve fisheries, the water quality and fishery oxygen habits and what's going on there. Recreation, there's a lot of benefits that come to Georgia citizens on account of having these reservoirs around the state. They also, during drought seasons, and we've been fortunate for the last few years, we've not had any significant droughts, but they stabilize stream flow through a lot of our streams because they're acting as basically what reservoirs do. So for me, I just, because I know this is one of those things that everybody has a little bit of challenge on, well, what's he talking about on a dam? Most dams in Georgia, most earthen dams, and are built that look like a trapezoid. So if you look at a dam, said you've got a back slope and a front slope, and you usually have a flat part across the top where, you might drive across it, you might walk across it, whatever. So most dams look shaped like that if you look at them from a profile shot. What this bill would do would be allow anybody to go from 100 acre foot storage to 150 acre foot. So it increases the volume of the water. You notice that I didn't change the other factor, which is the height of the dam. When you think about the height of water, that equates to pressure. Said so if we looked at a dam that was over height, said let's say it was 35 feet. Said the pressure that's against this dam is based on 35 feet of water. Said the pressure over an area is a certain amount of force. So when you start looking, if the dam was over height and oversized, if I could get that height down, I could reduce the pressure that the water would generate. You've seen water tanks as you go down the road. Why are water tanks elevated? Because they're giving the residents of the community pressure. So the higher the tank, the more pressure you're going to get. But when you start looking at a dam, one of the things that causes a lot of dam failures is overpressure or overtopping the dam. So for me, what the concept would be, if you took a dam like that was shaped like this and said, okay, I want to go in here and improve that dam structurally. If I came in here and cut down the height of the dam, let's say it was 35 feet, and I cut down that height of the dam to 25 feet or less, it would get it off the dam registry as long as it was below 100 acre feet in current law. And what I'm saying is we could go up to 150 acre feet. If you think about the terrain behind a dam, South Georgia, typically a lower dam is going to have a lot more volume of water than a North Georgia dam. North Georgia dams, usually what happens is the height of the dam, because the terrain's so steep, you don't get that much volume behind it. In a South Georgia dam, if you can imagine, you might have a 25-foot high dam in South Georgia that could flood a very, very large area. And that would be a much more volume of water. So if you were growing blueberries, let's just say, if we knew anybody that grew blueberries in the state, and they built a 25-foot dam in Valdosta, Georgia, let's say, you're going to have a huge impoundment. You go to North Georgia, 25-foot dam, because of the steep terrain, you're not going to have near as much impoundment. So for me, there is a rationale that what's going on with this. It's not perfect, because we do have some dams that it would exempt, and that's why I don't want to push the bill today. But by cutting the top off of a dam, we reduced the force that's pushing against that dam, because we've got less pressure pushing against it. We made that wider. If you notice, I made this much wider because we're down here in the dam where we've gotten that dam to a wider and much more force is required to break a wider dam than a narrower dam. So for me, I just wanted to give you a little bit of knowledge about what's going on in the dam world. Not to be funny, but this is what's going on. Right now, the state of Georgia, we have 357 dams that we have ownership in the state. Now, at our next meeting, committee meeting, I do want to bring up Senate Bill 94. I have Mr. Randy Bass with Snobble Engineering that is here. I'm working with a lot of different dam engineers, that do this for a living, that are trying to perfect the language in Senate Bill 94, because it's something that we've passed out of our Senate chamber before. It went over to the House at that same year. If y'all remember, that was the first year we had COVID. Unfortunately, Chairman Smith's husband passed away that year. It didn't get taken up in the House, and we didn't get it passed into law. But I did want to make sure that our committee members are aware these problems that we have with these high hazard dams can potentially cause a lot of loss of life. Back in 1977, there was a COA dam failure. And that's where we got into the legislation on safe dams in Georgia. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I see these problems. I've dealt with them as a county manager. We had 7 of these dams in Franklin County where I was a manager. If you start looking around the state, there's literally thousands of them. Some of them are owned by the state. Only 357 have a state ownership in them. But there's a lot of homeowners associations that have these dams. There's a lot of farmers that have these dams. I guarantee you, if you look in your district, you're going to find some of these Category 1 dams that are in that in your district. And for me, my goal is to try to make sure that, before somebody gets killed, that we're making sure the dams are hardened and they're taken care of. And also that the people recognize, before they go build a house in one of these breach zones of a dam, that they recognize, hey, wait a minute, there's a dam a mile upstream from where I want to build my house, that if it failed, I could get washed away and killed. So it's an important issue, and it's one of the things that a lot of people don't think about until the catastrophic event happens. So I appreciate you listening to me today. It is one of these things that I don't want to move this bill forward. I will be working with some other engineers. I know Lieutenant Governor Duncan has another engineer that he wants me to meet with as well. But it's something that I think you'll recognize the importance if we ever do, and I hope we never do, have a failure like we had in Toccoa.
Thank you, Senator Ginn. Any questions for Senator Ginn on his underlying proposal right now? Senator Tippins.
Increasing the 150 acre feet. If the height of the water level is not increased, does that increase the lateral pressure on the dam?
It does not. So the pressure determines the force that's pushing on the dam. So
Which
if
is
you
a-
think about a dam sitting here, you can have a 5 miles of reservoir behind it. You could have this huge reservoir, but what determines the pressure that's pushing and the force that's pushing on this dam is the height of the water times the area of that dam. So for me, one of the things, and I really wanted to get this committee discussion started, and I didn't want to, I'm not trying to pass this bill because there are a couple examples that you could have where this could take a category high hazard dam, category 1 dam off the record. And that's not my goal. My goal is to make it safe. So Senate Bill 94 does a great job of that. It's one that, in case y'all didn't know, it got hit by a log truck last year. So there was a certain chairman of natural resources that wanted to put 100,000-pound log trucks out there. And the transportation chair didn't think that was such a good idea. So we didn't pick up his bill and he didn't pick up mine. But I think we're past that today.
Oh, well.
But for me, the height of the water directly corresponds to the force that's pushing on the dam. The taller the water is, the more force there is on the dam.
And now let me be clear, the rating of the dam depends on the height of the water or the top height of the dam.
When the safe dams looks at a dam, they say, what is the maximum level the water could ever get to? So you might have a normal pool level that might be here on the dam, and then from the height of the water to the top, that's called freeboard on the dam. So what they look at is always the complete top of the dam. So what would be the highest point you could ever get water on that dam? And that has to do, whatever the height of the water is at its maximum is you can calculate the force that's working on that dam based on that pressure.
Senator Goodman.
So just out of curiosity, on a dam, the wider the dam is, the more strength it has,
That's right.
regardless of the height. I mean,
That's correct.
so where does that come in at?
Well, that's in dam design. So and the reason that what I could see happening if this legislation was passed, there's a lot of people out there that might have a category 1 dam today. And what I really think they would do in order to get out of the category 1 status is they would cut their dam down in height. That's why I introduced the bill was I said, okay, if you cut down the height of the dam, said to get it below 25 feet, there's going to be some people in South Georgia that are going to get caught because it's still over 100 acre feet. So I said, well, without endangering the public too much, let me raise that to 150. Said it could potentially, it would be more volume of water moving over the dam. But if they cut the dam down, it makes the dam stronger because you don't have as much force pushing on the dam. But it is one of those things that when we look at the scenario, there is more volume of water. So if the dam were to fail, said you would have more water that's going to go by. And for me, that's one of the things that it's a trade-off. And because it's not a perfect bill, said I said, I really don't want to push this bill today, but I do want to get the discussion started about dams. So I introduced the bill because there are tremendous amount of dams in the state that doing that would reduce the public endangerment on what's happening if on that breach or of the dam ever failing. Because when you take the pressure off the dam, said you've taken a lot of force, and that height is directly proportionate to what's going on with the force. Yep.
So in South Georgia, our farm has less than 1 foot of fall over the whole place. We're in the flatwoods. Does elevation, as you were, talking about with water towers and everything with the pressure, when we consider dam safety in the state of Georgia, do we consider the elevation? Because obviously in North Georgia, where you've got water coming from here and you got the 100 foot of fall or whatever, versus in South Georgia where you've got 2 foot of fall, is that taken into account in terms of specifications for dam safety in Georgia?
That is said one of the things that when you start looking, you've got a combination of how much volume of water, and that right currently the law is 100 acre feet of water. Should if you think about 100 acre feet, you might have a pond that's say 10 acres, and if it was average of 10 feet deep, that's 100 acre feet. If you had one that was 20 acres, said here's what's going on. So for me, just to put it in relative terms, what I'm looking at in Valdosta, if you had a dam that was 10 feet high, you could, you could dam up not only everything on your property, but sounds like if you've only got 1 foot of fall on how many acres? Okay, so 1 foot of fall and a 10-foot dam in Valdosta would be a huge lake. So when we start looking and I've got some dams on my farm that are probably 15 feet high. You might get three acres out of it. Those are the things as you start looking. A 15-foot high dam in South Georgia where the terrain is much flatter, he could have several thousand acre feet of water. And that's where for me, what I'm trying to do is protect public safety, people that are living downstream of these dams, also to protect the reservoirs, because the reservoirs, and just so you know, if you, and I know we have some new committee members, if you wanted to build a dam today of any size, said the regulatory red tape to do stream mitigation credits and to do the construction of a dam today is phenomenally more expensive and prohibitive than it ever has been. And there are not very many situations where people can go out and build a dam. So the fact that we have a lot of dams in Georgia, they're a tremendous asset for every Georgia citizen. And that's where, for me, as we look, I want to make sure that we protect those dams and we don't lose them. So hopefully at our next meeting, the chairman will allow us to move forward on Senate Bill 94. And that's something that does a great job of balancing dam safety with what's going on in Georgia to protect the citizens.
Senator Merritt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, I'm assuming there's some construction involved if we're going to make the change. Who's absorbing the cost of that?
Dam
type of
owner.
construction?
It would
The
all
actual
be
owner.
up to the owner of the dam. In a lot of cases, said I will tell you, where the state has ownership, that'd be the state, on those 357. If it's a homeowner association, the homeowner association might pitch in to do this. And it's one of those things that a lot of times people don't realize, hey, I bought into this neighborhood and the neighborhood association owns this dam that's catching the stormwater runoff from that neighborhood. And that's where a lot of people don't realize, there's a certain amount of costs that are involved and hardening some of these dams is into the millions of dollars. I've worked on projects that are individual dams that you look at and say, well, this won't be that expensive, and it'll be a couple $1 million. So it's a problem we need to address. Yes, ma'am.
Have the homeowners ever asked that, what you're proposing? Are they aware?
I've had a tremendous amount of interest from people as they've learned more about what's going on. When they get notified from our Safe Dams program, you have a Category 1 dam and the requirements that they're going to have to meet. I get a lot of phone calls.
One more question, Mr. Chair.
They're for me. They want to, how do we get this bill passed?
Go ahead, Senator Merritt.
And I do want to hear this is a comment from more engineers and our experts to understand the need of why.
There's a
this is
couple of
required.
people signed
And
up
there's
to
some
speak.
coming.
And myself and the chairman are both handicapped as engineers, but
Yeah.
we've got some in our audience as well. So
Yeah, I just want to hear from them is this necessary? Is this something, this is urgent? We really need to look at like right now.
okay.
Thank you.
Senator Jackson.
So Senator Ginn, thank you so much for your illustration. It really helps me. So I just want to understand right now, as it is, 100 acres can be held or contained by the dam, right?
100 acre feet.
100 acre feet, right?
It might only be
important.
50 acres, but be 2 feet deep.
Sure. So if that dam, so the dam that's between you and the senator from the 8th, if that dam were to fail today, then only the senator from the 8th, only Senator Goodman's property would be breached because it's 100 acre feet, right? But if we expand it to 150 acres feet, does that then put Senator Harper's land at risk for flood if that dam fails?
The quantity of water is directly proportional to how much water is going downstream. Now, the height of the dam is going to determine a lot of times the velocity of what's going on with that water, the volume. and the height of the terrain. The topo downstream is going to determine really that velocity of the water. Said, but if you increase the volume of water, and that's why I said on this particular bill, I'm not ready to move that bill because there's a downside to doing this. What it would do would be make those dams, if somebody took a dam like this and cut it down to where now it's much wider at the bottom and much stronger, there is a downside to this in that if it fails, we've just allowed more water to go behind it. So you are correct in you put more water in there, there's a potential for that. It's terrain is what's driving how fast that velocity is. One of the things that just because a house floods doesn't mean that it would be in a category 1 dam. You think about some of the rainstorms we have here in Metro Atlanta, where you see people's houses that are flooding, slow rise, no velocity of water going past the house. That's a flood. What we're mainly concerned about with safe dams is what's the velocity of the water hitting that house and what's the volume of that water hitting that house. Combination between the velocity and the volume is what's going to drive whether those people house gets washed away or not.
Right, but Senator Harper, when he bought his house, he was not in a flood zone, or he was not at risk of being breached with our current law. But if we were to change it, now that he's within that 150 acre feet, he would then be at risk, and he didn't sign up for that. Is that right?
The 150 acre feet is the quantity of water.
Right.
So and so what's happening right now is we have a lot of those dams in Georgia that we don't know whether they're category 1 or category 2. We don't know what's going to get washed away. And that's where that Senate Bill 94 that hopefully we get to discuss at our next committee, I'm trying to push people to do a breach analysis on their pond.
Yeah.
And if you do that study, it's a model taking into effect the topo downstream and what's going on with the size of the impoundment, where you actually model that. And that's typically we did a lot of those. I actually worked real hard when I chaired this committee several years ago to push into the budget several $1 million so that we analyze those dams that the state has ownership. And I'm trying to get that done for other privately owned dams around Georgia.
Senator Goodman.
I was just going to put it in layman's terms, basically, in reference to what Senator Jackson said. What you're trying to do is take the amount of pressure that's on dams lower so that it lessens the likelihood of either myself or Senator Harper, Chairman Harper, being having a dam breached and being flooded. I mean,
less likely for dam failure, because anytime you can get the height removed on a dam, you've taken a lot of force off that dam. Just so you know, everybody knows when they see how many PSI you might have or your pressure. If you hold a column of water, if you took a piece of pipe that was 2.31 feet tall, that gives you 1 PSI. So if you had a pipe that went 231 feet in the air, if you put a pressure gauge at the bottom of it, that'd be 100 PSI. So when you start looking, it's directly proportional to what the pressure is based on the height of the water. If you lower that height of the water, you're putting a lot less force on the dam. So the bill, there would be a lot of people that would say, hey, I want to get down below that 25-foot height. And so when they cut their dam down, it truly makes that dam much stronger.
Any other questions? All right. There are a couple of people signed up to speak. So if you don't mind, just keep your comments brief. We don't have much time before we have to be out of here. So we're going to start off at the top. Mr. Randy Bass. Yes, sir. Come on down and just grab a seat, and the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and then other committee members. Name is Randy Bass, native Georgian from Columbus, Georgia. Went to Georgia Tech, been professional engineer for 45 years. I'm here to speak in opposition to Bill 440. My background, after graduating from Georgia Tech in '72, I went to work for the Highway Department right across the street. And then when the Toccoa Dam failed in November 1977, the Georgia legislature passed the Georgia Safe Dams Act, which became effective in July of 1978. And I was one of the first engineers hired to work for the program at that time. There was actually 3 engineers eventually. I had some slides. I don't know, maybe here's some help. Just to give a little background. Randy Bass, like the fish. Yeah, how do I? Okay. So let's go back. I'm glad that we got some 4-H memory because this was 45 years ago. So a lot of us in this room don't want to remember this. But November of 1977, Northeast Georgia had a lot of rainfall. Not a tremendous amount, but just over several days. And the old earthen dam, the Kelly Barnes Dam, became saturated. It was at that time unregulated, wasn't a design dam. And it washed out during the middle of the night. And that was the headline the next morning. Actually, it was 39 was the final total. Just kind of an aerial view. The dam was right here. You see in the bottom left is the lake bed. There's no longer any water there, but there was the earth dam, the route of the stream, and right below there was the Toccoa Bible College. And there was actually a 60-foot high waterfall that it went over before it got to the college itself. There's a waterfall. Somebody did a little artist sketch because there was no engineering drawing of the dam or anything, but it kind of showed what the height of the dam, the shape of Senator Ginn. Oops, I didn't touch anything. It was a trapezoidal shape, a typical dam with a flat top called the crest and the upstream and downstream slope. The dam did not overtop. Like I said, even though there was a lot of rain, it was just, did not overtop the dam. The spillways operated. But what happened was the back of the dam became saturated and just slid off. And then when you lose that part of the dam, then eventually the water starts to go over the dam and the water erodes the dam and you have a complete failure. This is right below where the waterfall was. It was kind of a lodge. The water got into that first floor. This is where a lot of the people that worked for the college lived in a mobile home park. You see where the left, you can see in the middle, there's a foundation of a house. That's all that's left. There's more destruction. As Senator Ginn said, when it's a volume of water and a velocity, and it carries trees and everything, it's a lot of debris in a breach zone. It can do a lot of damage. Here's the dormitories of the college. The first floor was flooded, killed students. The mobile home park, and then right downstream was US Highway 27, which caught a lot of the debris and where a lot of the bodies ended up being caught in that debris. So Georgia passed in 78 the Georgia Safe Dams Act. Most states at that time had a safe dams program. Nowadays, only one state, Alabama, does not have a safe dams program. Senator again said the original law, the definition of a dam was it had to be 25 feet high or impound 50 acre feet of water. That was the original law. That coincided with all the federal agencies, the Corps of Engineers, Bureau of Reclamation. The design was 20. That was everybody's standard. That's why Georgia adopted it. Well, I started with the program I mentioned in 78 and became the program manager, I think in 1980, running the program. In 84, the law was changed to 100 acre feet from 50. And the reason was, I'll be frank with you, former Governor Maddox owned the dam in Cobb County that was like 95 acre feet. It was under 25. And it was kind of amazing at first, when his dam became a category 1, he started to fix the problem, but then he, for some reason, quit. And he was the hazard. Him and his neighbor were the 2 houses below the dam at that time. Now, right now, there's a lot more development. But so he worked, I'm sure, to get the law changed to 100 acre feet. Which is kind of strange. It's public safety, right? But he took it under his own to satisfy his problems, to put people at risk. 11 dams became exempt that were high hazard dams that were no longer regulated. Since that time, there was a lot of other dams that are under 25 and 100 acre feet that are high hazard, but are not regulated. So there's a lot of weaknesses with some of these dams that we have a big storm event. Some of them are going to fail and they're going to kill some people. Senators again did a good job with his sketch explaining the dams and stuff. The thing with the volume is, yeah, you lower the height, it lowers the pressure on the dam. That's a good thing. But the thing with a volume of water, when the dam starts to fail, the more water you have, the more that flood wave is going to go downstream before it dissipates. So instead of a small dam where a flood wave may only go down a mile, then it's back into the channel. Now it may be 2 miles. So the volume is a big player in the danger the dam presents. So again, Georgia, if it goes to 150 acre feet where the standard is 50, we're going 3 times that amount. To me, that's totally unacceptable. As a professional engineer, our code is public safety is paramount. Everything we're supposed to do is it's got to be done knowing that public safety is front and center. And so as a professional engineer, I've been working on dams since 1978. We don't need to weaken our Safe Dams Act. We need to strengthen it. And I'll give Senator again credit. I mean, he understands a lot with dam safety, and that's an important issue. So it's good to have senators and House members understand dams because it's important. Important to a lot of safety. You know, he mentioned 357. These are watershed dams, the state owns. Well, they actually own a lot more because of state parks and all that owns dams. The DOT actually owns some dams they don't like to own. So there's a lot that the state owns and that they give them credit. Probably every state park dam has been fixed. You know, the state spent the money on their own dams, which is good. It's a problem for individuals that own the dam because it can be $1 million or $2 million or more to fix a dam. You know, that's just the cost of construction these days. But when you look at people's lives downstream that would be affected, not only life, but infrastructure, roadways and utilities and everything else be washed away. You can't have a bunch of unsafe dams out there.
Mr. Bass, I hate to do this, but we only got 5 minutes left before we got to go and other people have meetings at 11 o'clock. And there's 2 other folks signed up to speak. So
Can I have 30 seconds?
if you don't mind just wrapping it up, I'd appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Senator again.
Senator McNeil. No, it's all right.
Say
It's all good. You're good.
all right.
You can wrap it up in 30 seconds. So,
All right.
and you can address her question at the same
Okay,
time.
well, I
If
was
you
gonna
want.
say, the Senate Bill 94 that Senator again mentions that this guy, it has some good points to it, you know. And what I'm meeting with him prior to this meeting is we need to sit down and work out the language because it has some good points, but we need to be careful that it doesn't increase potential for loss of life downstream. So the engineering community will work with them and any others to look at the bill and see if we can come to something that would benefit the state of Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Bass.
So is there a question from Senator McNeil?
Well, she was just asking if there was anything that you supported, but I think you addressed that.
Okay.
So I appreciate your comments. Thank you
All right.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming down. Appreciate it. I know we have 2 others. Mr. Mark Miller is signed up, and Chris, either way, it doesn't matter, whichever one wants to speak.
Thanks everyone for allowing me to speak. My name is Dr. Chris Manganello. I'm Water Policy Director with Chattahoochee Riverkeeper. I did send a message to all y'all last evening. On behalf of Chattahoochee Riverkeeper's 9,000 members, I would ask that y'all really do please understand the risks of this bill before proceeding. And I'm glad to hear that, Senator, again, you're just doing hearing only today and looking forward to working with folks. Certainly SB 440 will reduce the number of failing dams required to comply with the Georgia Safe Dams Act. As just discussed by Mr. Bass, the Safe Dams program has been around since 1978, primarily because of that one failure in Toccoa that resulted in a loss of life. There are no natural lakes in Georgia. It's really important to understand that. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of ponds, lakes, and dams all over the state that we need to, regulate if they are of certain size. They're aging. Many of them are aging. They've been around a long time. According to Georgia Environmental Protection Division, there are 15 Category 1 dams that could fall into the exempt category here. I think the approximately 800 Category 2 dams that could fall into the exempt category are of significant concern here because a Category 2 dam becomes a Category 1 dam when someone moves in downstream and you get a probable loss of life. So while kind of taking 15 off at the top could be a problem, I think those 800 are actually more of a concern in the long run if SB 440 were to proceed. We object to the bill for multiple reasons. We've experienced dam failures in the Chattahoochee River Basin that have impacted Lake Lanier, have resulted in, impacts to private property downstream, access to the lake, and ultimately property values. This was a dam that was really old. It was jointly owned by, the kind of establishing ownership was a problem or a challenge, I should say. And so establishing that it was part owned by a city and a private family took a long time. But that family was also ultimately responsible for up to $1 million in remediation costs. So in the long run, dams that are not maintained pose a safety risk to property owners and first responders and infrastructure. They can have negative impacts when they fail on the environment, water quality, and water supply. And ultimately, SB 440 will increase the risk of dam failure and the loss of life. So I would ask that this bill receive a lot of thought before proceeding. And I'm also happy to take any questions. I know not now, but happy to do it any time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for being with us.
Sure.
Appreciate your comments
Thanks, Sam.
very much. Mark.
Thank you, members of the committee. My name is Mark Miller. I'm a professional engineer in the state of Texas. I'm sorry, Georgia. I'm from Texas, so don't hold that against me. I've been here for 3 years and I'm not going to leave. I'm also an engineer of record with the State Dam Safe Program. And I'm not going to elaborate a whole lot on what I want to because Mr. Bass did an excellent job of elaborating on the risks, but I would ask you just to focus on the population at risk and the loss of life that could happen. That's the biggest concern I have and why I want to speak out against 440. And I think really the fundamental issue is the dam owners that do not have the funds to fix the dams that are become Category 1 dams. And so I would ask members of the committee to focus on how do we help those dam owners do that. And Senate Bill 94 helps with that, but there is some other factors that we should consider as well as we move forward with that. So I appreciate that and I'll answer any questions or yield my time.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Mr. Miller, thank you for coming and glad to have you from Texas and Georgia. Welcome. Long as you cheer for the Georgia Bulldogs. Senator Davenport, do you have a question? Yes, ma'am.
Just a question for Chairman Gibbs. You've been trying to help me understand this whole process here. And I appreciate that. But are you withdrawing 440 and working on 94?
Yes, ma'am. I'm asking that we not do anything with 440 because there are some situations where it could make it worse. Said but I do want to move forward with 94 and hopefully the chairman will take that up in that committee meeting. Said we get it out from under the log truck, we'll be okay.
So with that, I will say this to Chairman Giddens' point, we have been working on Senate Bill 94 and trying to figure out a way to address it. I understand what Senator Giddens is trying to do. I mean, this is a very complicated issue, especially when you get into ownership of dams. And that was kind of brought up a minute ago because under current law, the owner of the dam is ultimately responsible regardless of what happens downstream of that dam. Then you also have private property rights downstream of that dam. And those individuals don't have any ownership in the dam. So it gets into this, it's a very complicated situation. I think there's some opportunity that some other states have done some unique things and how they have addressed this issue. I think Senator Ginn brings a unique proposal forward, and I've told him that I'm willing to work with him on it. And we've been working on some language, hopefully that we can do that. I know he's been working with other engineers, maybe to try to find some way forward, but also working with them and EPD and trying to figure out how we can do this. So we'll probably be bringing this at some point if Senator Ginn and I are able to get together and have an agreement on a proposal that we can move forward. But I look forward to working with him and doing that. So with that, so we're kind of in that stage. That's where this issue is right now for the members of the committee. So if there's nothing else for the committee today, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all very much. And to the 4-H folks, if y'all want to hang out for a minute, we'll visit real quick while everybody else.